before we get into Captive State. So what exactly happened? I have to start with what happened with Gambit. And then you were on Halo for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, it happens often with projects, unfortunately, which there's any number of reasons. I mean, Gambit was ultimately, I'll be honest about it. Fantastic Four came out, did not do very well for Fox. They decided to lower our budget. We were 12 weeks out. We couldn't recover. The script needed a huge amount of rewriting in order to fit that budget, and ultimately, powers that be chose not to go down that road. So the film didn't happen. Sorry, should know better. And then, of course, whatever happened after me with other directors, I have no idea. What I do know is that Channing Tatum and his producing partner Reed Carolan had an amazing idea of what that movie was going to be, and Josh Sedema, the writer, as well. It was terrific. I mean, it was really exciting, kind of a sort of Godfather with mutants set in the world of New Orleans with different gangs. And
if I'm not mistaken, it was going to be like a heist movie.
Yeah, of a sort. I mean, it was a period film. It dealt with the 70s up until the present day, and it was about kind of mutant gangs and the notion of what it means to belong, tribalism in this sort of bayou-like sort of environment and swamps of New Orleans. So it would have been a lot of fun. I don't know. I know that Channing sort of worked on the script to make it into more of a romantic comedy, I think, which I read, and it was great. It was very different to what I was involved in. But now Disney have the reins, so I don't know what their plans are.
It's so interesting to me because I never viewed, for me as an outsider, and I'm so sorry, we're going to get into Captive State, but I've never viewed Gambit as such a strong character to carry his own movie that I was always wondering, because I heard what the budget was going to be, and it was well over $100 million, or it wasn't.
No.
Oh, the one you were going to make.
Yeah.
Oh well, then I'm completely.
Yeah. I think I read that too. Someone said it was 150 million. It was not.
Oh, okay. No. So then that's even more surprising to me then, because the superhero genre, Fantastic Four was an anomaly. Generally speaking, the superhero genre is the most popular on the planet. So it seems like no matter what the movie is, it performs. It's crazy.
It was a really good script too. Some of those movies can sort of be ultimately be impressive, but not be built on a story, and that one was good.
Yeah, Josh's script was great.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this is probably getting in the weeds too much, but it is interesting to talk about. It's like invariably what happens with that kind of process of filmmaking, if people don't have their ducks in the row, is they'll throw it at the wall, they'll then realize it's not sticking, and they'll then spend the $150 million to get it right. Now, as a filmmaker, I've been through that process, and it's really hard to then end up with a piece of work that actually functions and has a cohesive story to it. And I think, we were in a place, both Channing, me, Reed, the producers, where we didn't want to have to go through that experience. We wanted to, set out to make a particular film and deliver on that. And
sure.
And so, the whole process of reshoots and all of that stuff, we didn't want to go down that road.
It's interesting. I've spoken to a lot of filmmakers. Like it happened with Chris McQuarrie on the Mission movie, on I think both Mission movies, but especially the recent one, where the production halfway through, Tom broke his ankle. They had to stop, and he was able to go in the editing room, see all the footage they had, and continue writing, and see what they needed and what it was working. And then, the movie's spectacular. But one of the reasons, even Chris will say, is because we had that break in the middle where I could look at everything. And I so wish more films had the ability and budget to take like 2 weeks in the middle and just look at everything.
Isn't that the Japanese? Is that where?
It's an Asian.
Yeah, they do it that way often.
Why he does that as a filmmaker? I mean, a lot of Asian filmmakers do it. Woody Allen does it. I mean, it's you shoot a bit, you stand down. It's. We were talking about this with a friend of ours the other day, who's an independent filmmaker who's just made this really interesting film about Ted Kaczynski, and he's shot it over an entire year. Like, shot a little bit, stopped, and what it's allowed him to do is understand the movie and cut things, try things out, rewrite, and the studio system doesn't really allow for that, because it costs $200,000 a day to be on a studio set.
The other thing is that I think that often in the studio format, there's so much on the line that they don't allow, a single creative mind to drive that process. So there's sort of focus groups and lots of people who come in, and it feels like it's more of a panic situation where they're, spending the money at the end to sort of Band-Aid over problems.
Sure.